will be, I like to compare it to when the automobile was first invented. When it was first invented, we take a horse and carriage, we took away the horse and put an engine in the carriage, and everything stayed the same for the first year. But then over the years, over the decades, I mean, it changed the whole society, right? I mean, if you look like just the intersection of interstates as big as a whole village, right? And we're now living in suburbs because we have cars, we can commute to work, we don't have to walk to work, or take a horse to to work. We built our houses so that it has at least two cars fit in there, and so on. So it has dramatic changes. So I think there will be dramatic changes how we do things. I mean, just like delivery, we don't need actually a full-sized cars. We can have like small, cooler size cars, which maybe not even cars, right? And they don't have to drive fast. They just have to drive safe, and they can drive on the sidewalk. So there will be things just we go online, get the stuff, and then everything will be delivered. It might be that that all parking, or most of the parking, we will get rid of it in the inner cities, because all the cars are autonomous, and if they're not needed, they just go out of the city, and so we have much more space. We can live much more denser. But it could also be like, oh, because now everything is autonomous, now we can live even further out, and not just in the suburbs, but like in the rural areas. Because if we need to go into the city, we just go in the car and work in the car, and even if it takes an hour or 2 hours to drive in there, it doesn't matter. We work while we drive. So any of those things can happen, and maybe all of them. And maybe some people like to live in a very dense city, others want to live out in rural areas and far away from everybody else. So I think there will be huge changes.
I kind of agree with some of what Christoph has said. I believe the combustion engine is probably on its final days or final years. I would think in 3 decades or 20, 30 years from now, they're already trying to phase out the combustion engine. This electric vehicles, once they get to a point where they can travel large distances. I mean, the thing that holds them back, in my view, is when you have an electric vehicle, if you don't have it as a second vehicle, to be able to go on a long trip, you got to wait, half hour or whatever for it to recharge. A lot of people don't like to do that. I'm one of them. I'm not too sure how many people would like to just sit around for that period of time. So, but I believe electric cars are going to be in our future. As far as fully autonomous, I believe it's going to be fully autonomous back in another 30 years. Are we going to own vehicles? I'm not sure that we would have a need for a vehicle at that time. When you think about it, even now, our vehicle sits in our driveway, sits in our garage. When we go to work, it sits there. Probably 80% of the time, maybe even higher, 90% of the time, it's not being used, right? So what's the advantage of having a vehicle, right? So if everything's fully autonomous, I mean, the phones are so smart now. You can call up an Uber or whatever it is, your autonomous vehicle. It comes, picks you up, it takes you wherever you need to go. You don't have to have insurance on it, and you don't have to buy it. So I probably see in the future things are going to be changed to the point where we will still be able to get around. What's nice about having fully autonomous vehicles in the future, and being able to call them up on an app or whatever, when you think about it, the older population, let's just say 70, 80 years old, they are used to getting around, but at some point their eyesight or the doctor is going to tell them, you cannot drive anymore. And that is, for me, everybody else, we're getting to that point, right? And I love the luxury of being able to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to, right? Can you imagine, here you are for all those years, and then you're told you have to sit in your house, you can't go anywhere unless someone takes you. So I believe that the fully autonomous vehicles at that time would be a great asset to the older population to be able to get around and do whatever they need to do, right? Yeah, you have buses that come, but a bus is not going to come to pick you up at your house. Yeah, you can get a cab, but it's still not the same. So I have some hope that, yeah, we're going to see some big changes here in the next 30 years with the way we look at vehicles and the ownership of vehicles.